Hello everyone, I'm here to discuss the results and my own thoughts about what happened on Monday Night Raw for April 18th, 2011. Let's go ahead and start off with what began the show, which was R-Truth cutting a promo about him being one of the #1 contenders for the WWE title. Honestly, not a very good promo by R-Truth, but then again, he's been very bland as a face most of the time, just trying to play up to the little kids. But it eventually brought out John Morrison to interrupt and coerce him into a match for his #1 contender spot. The two of them had a pretty decent match. Nothing too exciting, nothing too great, but decent enough. Morrison pulls off the victory with the finisher, and is now taking R-Truth's spot as a #1 contender. After the match, R-Truth essentially gives his heel turn now, and in all honesty, it was a pretty good beatdown. They played it up very well. Both of them did. It was very good. It was very good by both of them. Good heel turn by Truth. Hopefully, we'll be seeing more of that in the near future. In all honesty, at this point I was beginning to think, what was the point of last week, because they gave him the spot, then they took the spot the very next week. Now with the heel turn, hopefully they'll be making it a fatal 4-way instead of just a triple threat match, and that would be a little bit better for the pay-per-view in a whole, as if it's a fatal 4-way, not a triple threat inside of the steel cage match. So here's hoping that they will be doing that in the next week or so, or something to do with the draft show next week. The next segment and match that happened was Dolph Ziggler and Evan Bourne. Dolph Ziggler comes out with a brand new haircut. Honestly, I would have preferred him staying with the longer hair and the blonde hair over his, I believe that was his Spirit Squad look haircut for Ziggler. But on to the match. It was essentially a quick match, mostly a squash match in that sense then. But it was pretty good back and forth action for the 3 or 4 minutes that they actually were given to do the match. Evan Bourne's really good at doing his shooting star press and catching himself on his feet. He just looks amazing in the ring. Hopefully he can get some personality behind the mic, which will hopefully take him to further heights in the WWE. But Dolph Ziggler seems to have a good career ahead of him, and he has Vicky Guerrero, the person who gets the most heat next to him, standing by his side at all times. So he's in a pretty good spot for the time being, even though he's not in the title picture at this time. The next segment was The Miz and Alex Riley coming out to cut a promo before Alex Riley's match with Sin Cara. And it was essentially a classic Miz complaining about the whole R-Truth and John Morrison deal from earlier in the night. And this is where they announced that the match was going to be inside of a steel cage. And Miz essentially said that R-Truth caused him more problems than he caused R-Truth himself more problems, because instead of having to deal with John Cena and R-Truth now he has to prepare for John Cena and John Morrison inside of the cage. Now, like I said, hopefully it'll become a fatal 4-way next week. Or, once again, what's the point of even putting R-Truth in a title picture look, unless they were just using it to make a heel turn for him. Sin Cara comes out, and it looks like the match is about to start. John Cena comes out of almost nowhere. Now, I know during house shows during the European tour, Sin Cara and John Cena teamed up to go against Alex Riley and The Miz. So, sorry about that. So, I can see why they did it for Raw. Mostly probably just to get John Cena out there, and it works for building up the story to going into Extreme Rules. But the Raw GM chimes in, makes it a tag team match with Sin Cara and Cena versus Alex Riley and The Miz. Once again, another decent match here. All of them seem to do a very good job in the ring together. I think Sin Cara's still trying to get used to the whole WWE area because he seemed to botch one or two spots per match, and this time he messed. I don't know if it was really him or Riley not being in the right spot for the springboard moonsault, but it was completely missed, and that was how the match actually finished. The one thing that befuddles me is that no one really realized that The Miz walked out on Alex Riley in this match. You could see down in the bottom of the corner he had the WWE title and just walked away as Riley got himself beat up. So it's funny that the people in the back didn't have the announcers point out that The Miz was essentially walking away from Riley in this match. Maybe that'll be something they bring up with next week's Raw. Who knows? They have another Awesome Kong promo. Not sure what her actual name's going to be for WWE because I know she can't use Awesome Kong. And they show another promo for her, and it leads right into the Divas match, essentially. It was Eve and Nikki Bella. Just like last week, it was another typical Divas match. The crowd was completely dead for this. Completely dead. And it's somewhat sad, but it's somewhat sad for both of them. Eve does have some athleticism in the ring and can do a very good job, but what can you say? If the crowd doesn't like it, the crowd's not going to do anything about it. And it's not like they boo them, it's just they do nothing. So, once again, another dud area for the match. And Brie gives probably the worst promo of the night by doing a 10-second promo about the draft next week and that Eve could be drafted over to SmackDown and never have another shot at the Divas title, which I find weird because it's supposed to be a cross-brand title. So what's the point of saying something like that? You have a cross-brand title and the champ can be on both shows. Onto what was essentially the Cole getting knighted. I'm going to just call this one, I know Cole's a great heel and everything, but I'm just going to call this one a waste of time, and it did nothing for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you have the King and JR getting beat down by Jack Swagger, and then JR was embarrassed again by forcing to kiss Michael Cole's feet. So, but it was like 5 to 10 minutes of doing nothing to lead up to like a 2-minute area. So, kind of a waste of time on that aspect. The next segment and match was Santino versus Sheamus, and this was essentially a squash match with Sheamus going over, no big deal. So not really a waste of time. It builds Sheamus to be a bigger monster character. That's all right. That's all right in my book. But honestly, I think it just went on a few minutes longer than it probably should have. The main event for the night was Randy Orton versus CM Punk. WrestleMania rematch. Once again, Nexus is banned from ringside, and what can you say? This match was better than their WrestleMania match. I thought the two of them did a great job, and this was a great thing to put them in the main event versus just putting Cena and in the tag team match with Riley and Miz as the main event. This was a great main event. After the match was over with, Nexus comes down, beats down Orton. It looked like Mason Ryan was going to punt Randy Orton, and eventually with distraction and everything, CM Punk replaced Mason Ryan to try to do the punt. Now, with all the time they took to convince Mason Ryan that he should be the one doing it, it kind of led to him going for the punt and getting RKO'd, and Randy Orton booked it out of the ring, saving his skin for the night. Now, more than likely, they'll set up a match for Extreme Rules next week, and we'll see what kind of match they get out of that. Who knows what the stipulation will actually be for that match. But all in all, that was a great match. All in all, for a Raw, it was a pretty good Raw. It was probably just okay in my book. Matches were somewhat decent outside of outside the one squash match with Sheamus and Santino, it was just a squash match. It's not going to be any good. It's just one person getting beat down the entire time. But the other matches were somewhat short, but decently put together by everybody in the ring. And the reason why I don't call it a good Raw, I just call it okay, is because the promos, the beginning one with John Morrison and R-Truth, they're beginning back and forth as buddies. It just didn't seem to work. And this time around with Michael Cole, it just didn't seem to work. The promos tonight, outside of The Miz, the promos for the night did not seem to really do anything for me. It just wasn't well put together for those certain segments of the show. Thank you guys for listening, and have a nice day.